Hello and welcome. Happy to see all of you here today. I see folks starting to come on in, lots of familiar names and new ones as well. So welcome everybody. I am Georgina Donahue. I'm Director of Community here at Pragmatic Institute, and I have the very great pleasure of being joined by Eric Kingsbury, who is the Director of Competitor and Market Insight Decision Analytics at Experian. We're going to have a discussion today on the importance of market intelligence and how to really utilize it to find areas of opportunity in your products, your markets, and your services. So as folks are hopping on, as always, I've got an icebreaker question for you. I want to know in the chat, pop down into the chat and tell me, how much does your company currently integrate market intelligence into your product decisions? Is it a ton? Is it non-existent? Is it pretty good but could be better? Tell me all about it in the chat. And as you're entering your answers, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here as well. So when you're entering those answers in the chat, do it in the chat box. That's the best place for you to really swap ideas with peers while Eric is guiding us through this session. And from the dropdown, make sure you select everyone. If you have questions that you would like to pose specifically to Eric for him to answer live in our Q&A, please use the separate Q&A box down below to log those questions. That's the place that I'm going to keep an eye on through this session, and I'm going to flag them for Eric towards the end at our Q&A. We are recording this session and you will receive a copy in your inbox in the coming days. So if you want to send this to a friend or you missed a particular slide that you really want to get a second look at, don't worry, we have you covered. You will all receive an email with the recording to this session in the next couple of days. You can pop me over to the next slide, please, Eric, because housekeeping is out of the way. So once again, welcome. I'm Georgina Donahue. I work with Pragmatic's alumni community. And one alum recently said that this community is like having a gazillion friends tell you what they've done with the lessons they've learned in Pragmatic training. And I couldn't say it better myself. So the community is all about real life experiences, lots of conversations with other product folks, and sessions like this one are one of my favorite ways that we do that, but there are so many more as well. So if you're not a Pragmatic alum yet, I hope that you become one by taking your first course and join us there. All right, let's talk about this session. I am ready for the next slide, please, because today we are talking all about using market intelligence to identify potent opportunities within your market. So you all are going to get to know Eric really well, and I am delighted to be able to introduce him to you. He has worked in product for well over 2 decades. He's got a huge passion for market insights and data and decision analytics. So he's come from brands like Fender, PetSmart, eBay, Experian, and he's really bringing his knowledge of market and competitive intelligence to help fuel strategies and execute opportunities within his market today. So he's going to share a lot of insights with us about that, and especially pulling on his experience in sectors like e-commerce, manufacturing, SaaS, and beyond. So welcome, Eric. I'm so delighted to have you with us today, and I'm going to pass the reins over to you.
All right, thank you very much. So a little bit of an introduction, building on that. I'm Eric. I have been at Experian for over 9 years. As mentioned, I've worked at eBay and Fender Guitars and PetSmart. And you may know Experian mostly as a credit bureau that does credit reports, but I actually work in a rather large segment of our business that does B2B data and software. So we're a large company. We're based in London. I work in North America, out of Phoenix, and I focus on our division called Decision Analytics, which is composed of 3 areas. So let me tell you a little bit about that. But let me also say I'm also a Pragmatic alum. I had my initial training probably about 13 years ago, and it's been very valuable to me. Even though, every organization is different, you have different opportunities, there are different roles and different hats you can wear. But as a framework and a discipline, it's been very, very useful, not only to me, but many other people in our company as well. So I'm sorry. So our concern is thriving in a world of change, and I want to position market intelligence as something that helps us do it. And it's composed of many pieces, which we'll talk about. But my concern is thriving in a world of change. As a business, you may think of winning as the goal, but winning is a little, to me, transactional and a little, less holistic. Holistic for business is, to me, success is thriving. So Experian Decision Analytics, we have three areas of focus or expertise. They're identity and fraud, analytics, and decisioning. So we have a lot of data, and we have software tools and analytics tools that help our customers use that data in the most effective way, in particular to make decisions. So we have identity and fraud software. So when someone applies for a loan or a credit card or whatever, we can make sure that they're who they say they are. And that's all automated. That's all automated through our software. We use all kinds of data to do that. We also have credit decisioning software. And so when we not only verify the identity, but we also verify the credit worthiness. And our primary customers use our solutions around the world. We're a global company, and they use those solutions to mitigate risk, but often also to enhance the customer experience. Now, analytics is that discipline that takes that data and makes sense of it. And again, we automate that through our software solutions. You can build models. We use AI technologies, machine learning technologies to validate identities and make good decisions. So that's the value that we bring to the marketplace. Our customers cover a wide range. We do a lot of business with financial institutions, banks, and insurance companies, and so on. But we also work with retail companies. We work with small business. We work with telecommunications, utilities, and so on. And we work across the customer life cycle: customer acquisition, customer management, risk management, fraud management, debt recovery, and we have consulting services. Our consulting services get very specific, but they get very broad. How do you make that transformation in your organization to use AI and so on? So that's the shape of the world I work in. And again, my emphasis is how can we use insights from the market to help us, thrive. And what thriving means in the Pragmatic Institute framework or in our marketing world is how do we build great products? How do we better serve the customers? And how do we ultimately succeed in the marketplace financially, right? So we live in a world of change and complexity, and so do our customers. In particular, our customers are concerned about combating fraud and managing identity. Fraud is a huge threat in our, in our personal environment, in our commercial environment, in our financial environment, and it increases every year. So, banks and other kinds of companies, they need solutions that help prevent fraud. Consumers need solutions that help prevent fraud. And Experian also has a consumer business where we protect identities as well and mitigate ID theft. Expand insights. Businesses obviously want to know more about their customers. They want to know more about their markets, and it's difficult to do without advanced analytics these days. So how do we apply technologies and the data science advancements to making business better, right? And accelerate growth. How do we grow in this environment that is very complex and changing, and there are a lot of headwinds, and there are a lot of consumer perspectives that evolve all the time? And how do we become more agile as a business to address new threats, to go and get new opportunities? So when I reflect on Experian, we're doing this as well. In market intelligence, we're expanding insight, we're attempting to accelerate growth, and we're doing our best to increase the agility of the company. And so there's a micro dynamic, right? If we're thriving in a world of change, we need to look at all the different changes in the environment. Now, it's a big ocean. You can't boil it. You have to focus on what's important to you. But social change, technological change, economic change, environmental change, political change, and there's mystery change. Right? There's things can come out of nowhere that you didn't expect. We don't see a lot of black swan events, so to speak, but things bubble up, and we have to have the intelligence systems in place to anticipate change, right? And the focus here for us is looking at threats and opportunities. What could come along and displace part of our business? That's a threat. What are competitors doing to, compete with us or enter new markets or expand what they offer, or perhaps provide an innovation to our customers that we don't have yet. So we have to look at those threats. But there's, on the market side, the market being those people who buy from us or could buy from us, there's tons of opportunities, and they emerge every year. What new problem needs to be solved? And we think in terms of jobs to be done, and we put a lot of what we do in terms of innovation, product development, and marketing in that bucket. What are the jobs to be done? How well are we helping our customers solve their problems, get their jobs done? And there are lots of opportunities, because at the core of what we do is data, analytics, and software. And so, we're serving banks with decisioning software. We're serving retail companies with, identity verification software. Those things can be applied in many different use cases in many different industries. So we're always looking for opportunities too. This is the Pragmatic framework, at least as I know it. And me personally, like I said, I've been at Experian for 9 years. I started in product marketing for identity and fraud for just a couple of years, and then went into this role where I do competitive and market intelligence. And so I spend most of my time right now on market problems, defining markets, analyzing them. Just got into working on rebooting our win-loss program. And I've been spending, a good amount of my time for a couple years on our competitive intelligence program, right? And so, I make this point because, you could be in a small organization where, you may be doing a lot of these things, or in a large corporation like mine, like Experian, we not everyone's working on the same thing. And we, in our portfolio marketing group that I'm a part of, we're focusing on, getting this piece of it working, getting that piece of it working. And it's an ongoing effort, and that's just the reality of it. So in market intelligence, we have, a lot of questions that we work on and that I work on. Where do we play in the market landscape? What is our position, market share, and so on? And what are the problems that market is facing? So, we do a lot of secondary research, but we do primary research too. So we will go and, gather data from, secondary sources, be things like analyst reports and so on. But, we talk to our customers too, and ask them just, quite point blank, what problems are you facing, and what challenges do you see on the horizon, and what are the most urgent problems? What are the most urgent jobs to be done? What are you worried about? Those kinds of things that are sort of the qualitative data collection that we need to do to be able to serve our customers better. But also they provide us product opportunities, gaps maybe that we have in our software that we can close, and maybe whether it be new markets that we could enter, or maybe it's a new product that we could develop to solve a specific problem. Who are the buyers? And by this I mean not the organizations, but the actual people that are in the buying group that are making the decisions. So, you can profile and do personas, but ultimately, it's good to know them. And if you are in a company where you have a million customers, they're consumers out there. There are those methods to do that, to survey those customers, understand their concerns. And for us, we deal with a lot of big enterprises. So, we have a lot of personal relationships in our organization with those buyers. But collecting that information, turning it into insight is really a big part of what we try to do in market intelligence. Is it perfect? No, it's not. We don't always get, we have constraints. Like I have a column of challenges here on the right of the slide. There's only so many of us, and there's only so much time, and we can't talk to everyone. So we do our best as best we can to get good samples of our client base. Look at the markets we're not talking to. Try to understand what they're saying. Is there an opportunity there? We want to understand why our clients buy our solution. It's a little bit more than just them solving a problem with our solution. What makes our solution attractive to them, and attractive enough to choose our solution over all the other things that are out there that would conceivably solve the same problem? Or when they choose a competitive solution, why do they choose it? What does that competitive product have that we don't have? Or, is it pricing? Is it some unique feature? Is it the quality of the data? We need to know these answers, because those can inform, our product roadmaps. They can inform how we position things. Maybe we don't communicate our benefits and the value that we provide as well as we could. So who do we compete with? What are their strengths and weaknesses? What are our strengths and weaknesses? What enables that difference, if there is a difference? What is it that they have? Is it some technology infrastructure? Is it some, cost, some sort of cost basis or cost structure that allows them to be more aggressive on pricing? So we need to understand these things. What are the dynamics driving the marketplace? Like when change happens, for instance, the simplest thing is economics, right? When markets sort of retrench and there's less spending, say, in the technology space, what drives that, right? Or if there's a new attractive technology, we see, especially in our identity and fraud space, we see a lot of startup activity, right? A lot of small companies with some, sort of sparkly technology. They come in and they start building a business. What's going on there? Why is that attractive to our customers? Is that something we can do? What are those dynamics of change that allowed some of those startups to enter the market? And the big question is, I'm a real excuse me, I'm a real fan of strategic foresight, which is looking at longer horizons. And what will the market look like in the future? What direction is technology going in? What direction do we think we could go there? So on the challenge side here, limited technologies and tools, that's a thing. Again, we've only got so much budget. We probably would like to have all kinds of, analyst access or online tools that could help us aggregate insights. But, there's only so much budget. That can be a challenge. Competing priorities. You may not only do market intelligence. I spend a lot of time on competitive intelligence, which is a subset of market intelligence or a part of the mix. But I'm part of a team, a very talented team. I don't do all this by myself. We are only so many people. We do a lot of things too. Strategy will call me and need some analysis and priorities, time, resources, constraints. You get the picture. Organizational attention span. How do you get, you do some research, you get some voice of customer insights, how do you get those over to the organization? Our group, portfolio marketing, we don't manage product. We have great relationships there. We have forums in which we can talk. We have ways to communicate, but there's so much going on in a big organization. And I'd say even in small organizations, there's just a lot of pressure. There's a lot going on. How do you get the attention span? That's a challenge. And small task work can be very time consuming, right? You might find yourself working on a lot of transactional things, answering emails and clarifying points. And, that can be a challenge. Intelligence lacks actionable insight. It's a point that I learned early in my career, because I'd find all these interesting things and I'd throw them out to the organization, and you know nothing would happen. And I would ask, well, this is, and the response I would get would be, well, this is interesting, but what do we do about it, right? Why is this important? Um, we have to make sure that we take the time to actually think through what insights mean and what action we could take, right? So, like, one example on the competitive side is that we will look at M&A activity by competitors. So we have a competitor that buys another company, and we could put out, sort of a brief on, hey, so and so just bought this company that does, this interesting AI stuff. But that's, what does that mean? The real thing we should be doing is analyzing it in terms of what we can do. So how do we bolster our products to compete with a combined offer like that from a competitor? Or how do we build a defensive strategy from a sales perspective that we can go out and mitigate any aggressive moves by that combined competitor, or actually maybe even take clients away from them, right? And then a final thing is timeliness and consistency of insight. Being someone who shares market insights, competitive insights with the organization, they have to be timely and relevant, and you have to get into the cadence of the rest of the organization, the product road mapping process, the strategic planning process, the the sales cadences if you're working with sales. So some challenges. Moving on, starting the journey. If you're starting out and you're thinking about market intelligence and making it programmatic and making it more, how shall I say it, formal, and think about who your key stakeholders are, right? Who are you creating value for? And what kind of relationship you want to have with those people? And what's your value proposition? You should think about this as a member of an organization anyway. What is your value proposition? What is the unique thing you bring to the organization? But in market intelligence, in competitive intelligence, whatever you're doing that's intel related, what is unique about it? What gains are you creating? What pains are you relieving? So on. Key internal resources. Who do you need to really connect with to either to both gather intel and also deliver intel? What are your key activities? What are those things that you need to do very well to make the market intel function relevant and valuable within your organization? Here's the destination that I think is a good place to head for. We at Experian, we're not all the way there, but this is the sort of model that I think of in my head. You want to gather, understand, and activate intelligence, right? And market intelligence, some of the activities that we do market segmentation. Sometimes you can hire a third party to do that, or you could potentially do it yourself. It depends on what kind of resources you have. Market sizing. How big are your markets and the different segments of your markets? How fast are they growing? What are the adjacent markets, the ones that you don't address right now, but kind of look like your market? And which ones of those are growing and how fast? And, is that a potential for you? Market trends and dynamics. What are the trends in the marketplace? What are people starting to buy? What are they starting to be concerned about? What are they abandoning, right? Market intimacy, getting to know your market as much as you can. We have client advisory panels, where we'll meet once or twice a year, and we'll hear directly in a in-person way, what our clients are concerned about, right? Do win-loss. When you win a deal, work with the salesperson to see if you can get insights on why they won. And if you can talk to the client, that's even better. Why did we win? It was because of this, that, and that. And you collect those insights as much as you can. You can build, quantitative reports on that. You can extract key, drivers of winning and drivers of losing, and communicate that to product people. Voice of customers big. Personas and buyer profiling, I talked about that. I told you I also work on competitive intelligence. Competition is a big part of the business environment. Do a competitive landscape. Who are the players in your market? What use cases do they provide, or product areas do they have in their portfolio, and how are they aligned to the different segments in the market? Like, we'll have competitors that will compete in X number of segments of the identity verification market, for instance. And some of our competitors are right there in all those segments that we compete in. Some of them are not. Some of them are only doing a piece of it, right? Some may be doing a little more. And it's good to know that. It's good to know how your competitors are aligned to the market you serve. Competitor tracking, follow the news. There are tools to do that. When they announce partnerships, when they announce new clients, when they announce new products, you need to be aware of that. And again, try to translate what that might mean for your organization. Profile the competitors as completely as you can. It's difficult with private companies or startups because there's not a lot of information. But public companies, check out the earnings calls, check out the annual report. Often these companies will lay out their strategies for investors, and you can look at that and you can say, well, okay, they're going there. How does that compare to the way we see the market in the future and where we want to go? Product analysis, product comparisons. So get into the product in competitive. I'll show you in a bit. We do product to product comparisons. We do it based on, sort of the propositions and values that are offered, but as well, we'll look at, features and capabilities, and we'll do, one-to-one check marks. They have this feature, they have this feature is considered a strength, that feature is not. And we'll look at them because, again, answering the question, where do product opportunities come from? The incremental product improvements you can make can come from feature analysis and capability analysis, where a competitive product may have something that you don't, and you can consider working on that. Or you look at competitors' portfolios, and they may have a product that you don't have, and is that something that you can get into? Win-loss, voice of customer. Again, I mentioned that before in the market intelligence piece, but you will get competitive insights out of win-loss analysis. Who did we lose to and why? Who did we win against and why? Those are pretty useful. And in this little bit on strategic foresight, which I think is, something outside the typical market intelligence, but you can use market intelligence and, provide scenarios and do war gaming and so on. One of the interesting things that we do and that I really enjoy is that, we will war game M&A activity. So if there is a company that is, on the market, so to speak, in our industry, we will look at who might acquire it and what that might mean. So lots of gathering of insight there. Turn that data, turn that raw information into insights. What does it mean to us? What can we do with this information? And you activate it in sales, in the go-to-market function. This could be market entry, market exit at the strategic level. The market sizing is important because it can inform investment, right? Sales investment and marketing investment, market trends and dynamics. What do we need to start maybe talking about more in our collateral? Market intimacy. We learned something from the win-loss. Maybe we can emphasize that in our communications, and market research as a bucket. What what can we learn from market research that can inform our go-to-market. On the product side, all these insights can inform innovation and development, as I've mentioned a few times. The product road mapping, as you know, your products evolve, our software products go through multiple versions. They get additional features and you know, performance improvements, and that's all an investment. So these insights can help the product organization understand where to invest and when they can fit it into the product roadmaps. Life cycle decisions. You have a portfolio of products. You might look at that from time to time, and with market insights, you can maybe inform a sunset decision for a product, right? Partnerships. Do you need to partner with a company that has a function that the market needs? And strategy. You know, market intelligence, if it uncovers gaps in what we have, that can inform any M&A process or an investment process that would help. I think I'm okay on time for a little bit, but you know, this is a note on competitive intelligence, which I spent a lot of time on, and it carries over as a model into market intelligence. It's about finding, analyzing, structuring, and activating intelligence. So we gather insights, we analyze the competition, in this case could be the market, strategize a competitive response, and enable the revenue engine. And we do that by having multiple sources of insight. The analysis we have to do ourselves, right? We have to actually have a cadence of looking at competitors and understanding their products and what they're doing. And we need to understand our own products and our own capabilities and our own strengths and weaknesses, so we can strategize a competitive response and ultimately publish it, disseminate it, and so on. Some of the challenges are completeness, depth, accuracy, internal endorsement, timeliness, recency, accessibility, and volume. So we have, you know, we have a competitive intelligence repository where it's internal only, where we collect, I think there's about 90 different competitors of all sizes for our 3 business units. So anybody in the organization can go on that online resource, and they can click on a competitor and read all about it and see battle cards and so on. So that's what we've been able to do in rebooting our competitive intelligence. So you look at this, I'm only doing a small part of the overall thing, but it's all interactive, of course, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can and inform as much as I can. And again, it's just not me. I'm part of a very talented portfolio marketing team, and we're all doing this together. But my focus here really has been sales tools, right? This is where I'm focused now. And every organization is different. You might need to focus elsewhere. You might have, you know, sort of a mandate to focus on collateral or positioning or something of that nature. So this is just where I'm at right now. And what I suggest you do, this might sound a little silly, I don't know, but build an impact pyramid for you and your organization. And this is what I have. It's like a Maslow's hierarchy kind of thing. If I can make an impact in sales, it's going to open doors for me, and it has opened doors for, and when I say me, I mean our function in marketing and competitive intelligence. So make an impact in sales at Experian, and then we can influence marketing, and we can influence product and strategy and maybe the C level. The reality of this might be different, right? You might be closer to product. It depends on how your organization is structured, or you might actually be in a strategy group or close to a strategy group. You have to understand how your function in market intelligence, marketing, product marketing, whatever, influences the organization. And this is not a stepping thing. It's not like a stepstone. You have to kind of, you know, I'll put it this way. I have to keep sales engaged, you know, to be able to go up this. I can't just win sales over and throw them away, you know. So what is it like for you? And that's a thing that just a little thing I advocate. And product opportunities come out of all of that. So do communication opportunities. Just an example of, I'm focusing on sales. So, in competitive intelligence, I've built all these battle cards, right? And there's battle cards, a 2-page, in my world, it's a 2-page guide to, positioning our products against other specific products. It gives the rundown of the competitive product and how we compare. And we have key talking points or kill points for the salespeople. So just build a lot of these things. They're out there in a repository. They can be accessed. They have really informed points on how to sell against. And that's how I've activated the intelligence. Those strengths and weaknesses that I've gotten from the product people and from the sales people and talking about situations where we've gone against a specific competitor, they're distilled into a tool like this. And that's the activation stage. So insights for impact. How do we thrive in a world of change? Gather insights, try to make impact. That's the aspiration, right? There's my final thoughts. Focus on turning data into actionable insights, build a foundation of impact, and keep an eye on the future. Because again, not only does the market change, your organization changes too. So, make sure your function, as much as you can, make sure that your function connects. And product opportunities can be organic if you're feeding intel into the organization. If you're collaborative, it can all be a lot of fun. So I think I'm done, right? Hopefully that was interesting.
I think based on the number of really wonderful questions we have in the chat, it was very interesting and people want to continue to dig in a little bit more. So before we move to
not as cool as Barbie though. This is
may I don't know. I mean, she's way up there. She's on another level. But yes, that's the perfect intro. As you are typing any last questions into the Q&A, I will share that our next product chat is February 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to welcome Tim Trapp, who's the Director of Quality Engineering and Product Quality Analytics at Mattel. So yes, some Barbie. We're going to have a conversation on how user testing and product quality initiatives can really improve your business metrics and your brand reputation. So a deep dive into that. And I'm sure that every single slide will be bright pink. Okay, we've got tons of questions in here that I'm really excited to dig through so we can get going here. All right, Eric, I've got a couple that I'm curious about. The first is kind of maybe it's mean to start with this one up top, but it's a big meaty question. And the way that you spoke through the presentation about really future forecasting and thinking about what are things going to look like in the future. I'm trying to think about the next year, but also what about the next 5 years? What about the next 10 years? How do you tackle that question of what will the market look like in the future? Do you have a particular process? Is it more art? Is it more science? Can you talk a little about that?
So a couple points. I'll start by saying that not every organization has an appetite for longer forecasting, right? Not every organization has an appetite for what the world looks like in 5 years. That's just the reality. You will find there's always a concern on the quarter. There's always a concern on the year, right? And so, strategic planning cycles are often annual cycles. And sometimes there's not a ton of interest in, strategic foresight or forecasts that go beyond 5 years. However, in many organizations, there's receptivity to it. And I find that technology people tend to be more receptive because because there tends to be a lot of technological change, but there also tends to be a lot of, how shall I say it, futures thinking in the technology world. So in my organization, um, I have had some really, sort of great little projects that look at longer forecasting when it's come to the products and the technology. We've done things like, what is the decisioning software technology stack look like in 5 years, and we can forecast that. And how do we forecast that? Well, know, it's a layered kind of thing. First of all, you gather information about the state of affairs. You look at trends, right? What are the trends? And you can find as many, excuse me, you can find a ton of trends and analyst forecasts and things like that. And you just aggregate and you look at the meaningful ones. And then you do what I advocate is a scenario process. So if you imagine 5 years, what these trends might add up to, and the thing about forecasting is don't forecast one prediction, forecast several. Like if things go this way, in other words,
Um,
like cloud adoption several years ago was something that was new, and so there was a future in which cloud adoption didn't didn't happen, right? There was a future in which it was a hybrid. There was a future in which everybody went to the cloud, right? And I think we're somewhere in between. But think about those trends and create those scenarios, and then you start to ask, well, you know, in world A, the future A, what do we need to do, or what will that mean for us? Or in future B, what will that mean for us? Another thing that we look at are things like the regulatory environment. So we at Experian work with financial institutions um, a lot, and federal regulation can impact what we can and can't do, right?
hmm,
Um, so there's always these sort of issues around financial regulation that could or couldn't happen. Legislation could be passed to put more restriction on the use of data by banks, and that would have an impact on our customers. And so, what does that mean for us? That might not be a 5 year year out thing, but sometimes it is. And so, you know, gather the data, look at multiple possible futures, define those scenarios. So you're almost like science fiction writing, right? Define those scenarios, what they might look like, and extract some what ifs. What if we did this? What if we did that? I hope that answers the question.
I think it does. And if the person who asked the question has some follow-ups, feel free to pop those in the chat or the Q&A. While they're doing that, we have a couple questions here about, I think, a perennial issue for a lot of product folks is win-loss relationships with the sales team. And I think you're a great person to ask about this because you have sales as an advocate and your foundation of your Maslow's product hierarchy. So thinking about specifically how to have successful win-loss conversations with the sales team. So folks here in the chat are saying that they struggle to initiate a conversation with the sales team about win-loss analysis, or that sales just don't really want them talking to the deals that they've lost. They feel that they're not fully, the customers aren't fully transparent. Asking about how you approach win-loss with the sales team. Do you have any top tips?
Yeah, it's really the loss side, isn't it?
Hmm.
When our salespeople succeed and we have big wins, of course, it's a great story, and those stories get shared, and the salespeople are um, more inclined to talk about it, and we'll get lots of like really sort of headline win reasons into our system, like great relationship, or they love the data quality was good, or whatever. So the uh, wins are good. Wins are good. So if you start with the wins, right, and uh, you can gain confidence
Mhm.
with, the sales team by, focusing on wins first. There's potential to, again, have the relationship equity to start looking at the losses. You don't want to necessarily uh, take at face value um, the headline on the loss reasons. Sometimes sometimes potential clients, prospects, they just disappear, or the project is abandoned, or the project is stalled, or something of that nature. And that just happens. Um, and um, but there's probably a story under that, and that's the challenge we have. I'm not going to say there's a silver bullet, but I believe building equity with sales teams and doing it with the win side first is probably the best route. It's been the best route. It would be the best route, and from my perspective and my environment.
Yeah, I think that's a very good tip. And it's just um a very, forgive me for the pun, but it's a very pragmatic approach,
Yep.
in the
Al-
sense that
Yeah.
everyone wants to talk about the win.
Also, I'll say that sometimes they don't want to talk to you. I mean, that's just win or loss. Sometimes they don't want to talk to you, and I think that's part of the value journey for the marketing function or the product function. I hope that doesn't happen to a lot of people, but you know, past lives I've experienced that. The salespeople don't have time for um, postmortems, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah. And do you typically conduct win-loss interviews directly with the customer, or are you gathering insights through third-party tools? Do you have a perspective on an approach that's worked better or not as well for you?
Well, there's two approaches two things we do: voice of sales and voice of customer.
Mm.
Salespeople and client management people do protect their clients. They the client doesn't want to be talking to people from Experian all day long every day, right? So voice of sales is often useful. Again, if the salesperson can objectively narrate what happens, or in a win or loss situation, or with an ongoing client, can talk objectively about the challenges, the things that are working, things that are not working. It's great intel. Um, but the end client, sometimes we do get a chance to talk to them. As far as third party goes, we have hired some companies in the past to not talk to our clients, but talk to um, parts of talk to the market. In other words, they go and recruit people that look like our client, right? Um, Buyers of identity and fraud solutions, and we can get good insights from that too. It's just a budget item, and sometimes we have it, and sometimes we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And in the situations where you are working to build a strong relationship with the sales team, especially around win-loss, but around a lot of this different support and enablement work, do you find that there is a difference in how you approach a sales leader internally versus a sales individual contributor? Or is the approach kind of overall for you?
I'm still working that out. Honestly, it can be. Um, it depends on the size of your organization. Our organization is pretty large, and what I try to do is again to be a value resource, and I tend to have I have an easier time delivering value to the salespeople. I mean, the competitive intelligence program, I know the leaders know about it. I've presented it in sales meetings, but the salespeople get into situations where, hey, I'm up against XYZ company right now. What can you tell me about them? And you know, that's just a little bit more. It's happy to help, and it's a lot more value oriented. And so, to some extent, it's personal networking, right? Uh, sales leadership, sales leadership is great, yeah, but they're very busy people too. So, and I don't mean just at Experian. I mean that's just the way it is. I think in my
Yeah.
experiences across companies, yeah.
Yep. Yep, that makes sense. Good advice. There are a number of questions here about cadence. So I'm going to pivot our topic a little bit and talk about cadence for your market intelligence, for your documentation, things like that. Folks are very curious about the frequency of the market intelligence gathering that you do for specific markets, but also kind of the updating of your documentation. Those battle cards that you shared were referenced as an example. What's the frequency that you ensure to make sure that everyone in the organization is making decisions based on very up-to-date data?
So I'll speak to the sales enablement with competitive intelligence first. We, do about 2 to 3 new ones or updated ones per month. Try to update all the important ones every year. When a new one is created or one is updated, we send out an email bulletin saying all about it and where to find it, and that goes out to sales and marketing and product. So that is the internal communications approach. And so I have maybe 1 or 2 of those bulletins going out a month. As far as like other marketing intelligence, um, we try to do a win. We're trying to do a win loss report every month, as another example, and that's a short deck with some details, and then there is a quarterly sort of business review that the portfolio group marketing group does quarterly, and so we include summarized content in that. That's our communication. Different audiences. Did that answer the question?
Yes, I think it does.
I think it depends on your organization, but I honestly think that we used to do a newsletter, like a monthly newsletter that went out pretty broadly, but no one read it. Um, so if you have some metrics, find out what's being accessed and what's being used. I know that people go to our document repositories and download things like battle cards, but the newsletter, there's so much in everybody's inbox, it just didn't get a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah, that's a good segue into another question here that's asking about how you measure the effectiveness of your enablement and sales assets and kind of the delivery of what's working. I think that watching the number of downloads for particular assets is a really good one. Are there other measures that you use to look at the effectiveness?
That's how I do it with that's how that the downloads and access is how I do it generally with what I produced in competitive intelligence. We do have our portfolio marketing team does a quarterly sales survey
Mhm.
that gets a quantitative and qualitative response to our efforts, and those include things like product sheets, competitive intelligence, but also collateral and so on that we produce. So that's insightful.
Mhm.
And so we try to measure that quarter to quarter. It's a fairly I collect anecdotes too. If I get messages about something was in fact effective. The people in our group that do outbound marketing, right? Like you know, demand generation campaigns. They are able to tie their efforts to sales opportunities, and
Mhm.
so they report on that too. So there's a lot of ways to do it, and find out what works within the context of your organization and the tools that you have available.
Yeah. Yeah. Really helpful. I've got a number of questions here, at least 3 or 4 questions have come in, which you're in a group of product people when they want to know specifically about tools. And it's a really good question. So folks are curious about your tools. How do you go about gathering your data? What are the specific tools that you're using to gather external info on market intelligence? And I think they're also curious about methods, right? Are you surveying? Are you interviewing? Are you getting feedback from sales? Are you looking at research reports? Can you talk a little bit about the tools at your disposal that you like a lot?
Okay. So secondary research have tools like we have a relationship with Forrester, the analysts. So we use that a lot. And that includes, product people can get a group of Forrester analysts together and talk about, product ideas. I recognize that's probably not accessible to, depending on your budget, but we have that asset. Also have a subscription to CB Insights, which is an analyst, and they provide a lot of, raw information and aggregate news on competitors, on all companies, right? And so I have an online tool that I can use to track specific competitors and their activities, but also I can look companies up and get a lot of information on them, including analyst briefings where they talk about their products. So those are like secondary things. As far as like primary things, we have an asset called Airtable, which we have a very highly customized version of that, and we use that that's where we have built out our competitive intelligence repository, but also it has a market intelligence repository. So we encourage salespeople, and we actually sometimes facilitate or help salespeople enter win-loss information into it, any competitive information they hear, any voice of client information. It goes into this Airtable application, and it's really cool because I can, and it's online, and I can just pull it up and I can search something. I can go to the win-loss section and I can search something like a competitor or one of our products, and I can look at qualitative entries on specific deals. We also have Salesforce too.
Yeah, the standard stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful. We are coming up to the top of the hour here, so I'm going to close this out with one final question. We've got someone here who wants to do competitive intelligence and wants to do more market research on a super, super, super tight budget. So what is your best top tip for someone that is trying to do some of this work, but is really on a shoestring budget?
I'd say determine the core competitors. No more than 10, ideally 4. Set up alerts. If you can do Google Alerts, or you can do a free Owler account, owler.com. Start tracking them. Just download everything you can about them and process it, and just routinely track it, right? Routinely track it. That's the information gathering part of it. I would also recommend another free site called, it's from Gartner. It's called Peer Insights. So if you Google Gartner Peer Insights, you will find this may not cover everybody. I don't know what industry you're in, but for like the technology spaces, it's good. You can go to that site. It doesn't cost anything. You can just search your competitors' products, and you'll find product reviews from the market, you know, individual product reviews from the market, and they're anonymous. So you don't know who the reviewer is, but there's a lot of really great strengths and weaknesses information there. So I don't know if that's a good answer, but without knowing more about what they're trying to do and what space they're in, that's what I'd say.
I think that's a great answer. I appreciate it. That's so so practical, so actionable for people to go take a look at, and all of it free. Just spending a little bit of time there. So thank you very much for that. Thank you so much for pairing all of those actionable tips and suggestions and really wonderful advice with some of the thinking and the process and the structures behind why you've made those choices. I can see everybody in the comments right now is just sending lots of appreciation and kudos. So thank you so much for being with us, Eric.